around.
I'm getting so old. I need an ascot to hide the jowly chin.
Is that why they wear the ascots? Is to protect the chin?
Yeah. Nice.
That's funny.
Man.
Or turtlenecks. Let me do this. See if this helps.
Maybe that was why Steve Jobs wore the mock turtleneck. That was
Look.
There you go.
Looking good.
Not covering
10 years younger.
Be careful you don't catch your neck beard while unzipping
it. Welcome to another episode of Command Control Power. It's great to see everybody. And Jerry, you're in a really cool looking background there. Which room is that in your castle?
The ballroom.
Yeah, the ballroom. Nice.
That's the ballroom for the guest cottage.
Oh,
so
okay.
they have their own.
So the smaller ballroom.
Their own ballroom.
Nice.
Well, to anybody who's watching us on YouTube, you will win a prize if you guess this location.
Okay.
So Sam, just write in and we'll get something for you. I'll get something for you. I'll pay for it.
Sam's ceilings are painted though. That's got to be even more luxurious.
Yeah, it's a very cool library.
Yeah.
I have no idea where it is, but
nice. Cool library. Searching AI. It's a cool library.
So this is our opening December show. So welcome, everyone.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, welcome to December. It's glad we made it this far.
Roy in the chat wants to know if the Patreon fees contributed to the ballroom.
Yes. Yeah, I think the Patreon fees paid for one tile in the lower left there.
Yeah.
Not even a big tile. Small tile, yeah. Right. But yes, so let's not speak of Patreon. This is a public show, but I'm going to tease one of the Patreon episodes as I've been doing lately. So we've spoken twice recently on Patreon about presenting our managed service offerings to our clients, designing flyers using Canva and ChatGPT, and sort of how to pitch this to a client and how to present it in one page. And also, I've ventured into the realm of all-inclusive pricing, and so we've done some deep dives about that, including the most recent Patreon episode that we recorded with Tim Pearson. So those are the next two Patreon episodes coming up. I guess as you hear this, they will have just aired. So those are ready and waiting for you as you're listening to this in the public podcast feed. There are some Patreon episodes that you can get just by pledging to us on Patreon. So those two most recent ones, including dozens prior to that as well. So we've talked about, again, Canva, ChatGPT, etc. This brought up an interesting issue that I had. I've never seen this before. I always encourage clients to just use Preview, right? The Preview app. You don't need to pay for Adobe. You don't need to even get the free Adobe Reader. You don't need to install the, plugin in Safari to have Safari display PDFs using Adobe Reader. You can just use the built-in workflows. They're great. No issues. Well, every once in a while there's an issue, and this is the first time I've seen a rendering issue. So when I exported my flyer about my managed service plan from Canva, it had these little icons to denote each little section of the kind of offering, and each of those little icons had a gradient background. And so, it's just a little purple splotch, with a gradient in the background. That's how it's supposed to look. But when I opened that PDF that I downloaded from Canva in Preview, instead of having each little icon with its own gradient background, there was one gradient behind all four of those icons. It was clearly just a bug in the interpreter or whatever. But I thought that was really weird because I'd just never seen that type of issue in quite a while. Pretty sure it was in both Sequoia and Tahoe.
That was my next question.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it was right before I upgraded to Tahoe and it didn't fix it. I could be wrong about that. It could have been introduced with Tahoe, but it's not fixed in 26.1, for whatever that's worth.
Not to get too off in the weeds, we talked on this Patreon show about using some of the available templates if you go to a Canva paid plan. Were those gradients from a paid plan or from a template, or did you actually create those gradients within Canva? Because that's
it came right from the template. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I believe I had a gradient as well, and I exported it as a PDF, and I have seen no rendering problems on Tahoe. So it's very interesting.
I did change the colors, and maybe the difference was, because there's a built-in gradient background, and I just chose the start color and the end color basically for each of those. And it's cool. It lets you save that, so you can easily like, click another object and then set it to the same exact colors without reselecting them each time. It's a nice system. The difference may be that yours is one gradient and mine is like multiple instances of the same gradient, which then triggers the bug, I guess.
Mhm,
I don't know
mhm.
if that applies, but
And did you prove this out where on another OS of the Mac OS, it rendered
Um,
correctly?
I didn't worry about that because it was happening in, an OS that my clients are going to see. So I was like, I got to figure this out. I got to figure
Mhm.
out an alternative before I start sending this out. And it looks all weird, compared to the way I want it to look. So I mean, this was like part of the struggle was exporting to, PNG and then testing like an import of a PNG into a PDF or, because I wanted to have the benefit of like the selectable text, even though, you can select text in a PNG, through the OCR that Apple now includes, I think as of one of the last couple of Mac OS versions, you can select text in an image. And so PNG would kind of be okay. And that includes a URL, like they could click on it and it would offer to, open the link or whatever. But I wanted it to just be like, I mean, PDF is obviously the appropriate format. So I didn't want to start doing these workarounds. And the other thing is that with a PDF, if you like, regardless of what device you're on and how much you zoom it in, it looks really good. The text looks sharp. Whereas with a PNG, it's going to look fuzzy at a certain resolution unless you send a bunch of pixels you don't need to send. So anyway, what I figured out after lots and lots of trial and error was so I didn't want to buy Adobe Acrobat Pro and then like re-render the PDF, and pay for Adobe just for that one reason. So apparently I already had some kind of version of an Adobe PDF like rendering engine because I do have Photoshop. I pay for that.
Oh,
So I right clicked on the PDF and it said, one of the things you can open with was called Export to Adobe PDF. So I don't know if that was like a little mini app thing that came from a prior version of Adobe that's not like, not triggering their licensing, or maybe it's included with Photoshop. I don't know.
yeah.
But I was like, let me try that. Open with Adobe Sure, like export to Adobe PDF. So I said open with, and it gives you some very basic options, and you just, save. And so I saved the copy. Sure enough, I preview that copy and it looks perfect. So their
Good tip.
rendering engine like re-renders it and fixes the underlying problem.
I
Because the
think
other option you had was you could have just sent it to me and I wouldn't have charged you very much to open it
Okay,
up in
very
Acrobat
much,
DC
yeah.
and then
Right.
save it. Yeah.
Jerry's always
Just a
good
little,
like that.
Yeah.
Or at least there'd be no travel involved, so that's good.
Yeah, that's true.
right.
That's true. Yeah, there'd probably be a royalty per PDF that I send
Yeah.
out though. So I
How
mean
many
the
people are you sending it
residuals.
to?
Yeah, exactly. We carry the one. Yeah. um yeah, no. So yeah, it's very interesting, to be this workflow works really well. ChatGPT is so fast, it's so, high quality. That was the model that I used, obviously, on Jerry's recommendation. And Canva is great, except for this one little bug, which turns out to be an Apple bug. So problem solved with that little workaround. And so, yeah, anyway, if you want more information about that, pledge to us on Patreon and go back and listen to the last two shows, I think both in November. And you'll hear all the details about how we present our plans and that kind of thing.
I think I'll give it a listen.
Yeah. Well, you weren't there for the Tim Pearson show, so that's a good one for you to check out for sure. And yeah, listeners out there are, 5 or 6 or 10-time returning champion Tim Pearson joined us recently to discuss the plans that, he kind of like signaled to us probably years ago now, about, how to do the, as Jerry put it, good, better, best, and the sort of all-inclusive option and how to, structure and price those. So it's great.
And we should talk about this more once I listen to that show, because I know you guys just recorded it, but I do have some thoughts on that just in general, because I haven't been doing a good, better, best for a while. I just have like, one price per computer and one price per user. But we had a couple of clients where they're like, well, I really don't want or need this stuff, and they could live without it. So I might need to consider going back to that thought process and giving them a few different options so that they don't just like shy away from the plan completely,
Yeah.
I mean, my goal was just to be like, this is it, like pay this or that or nothing.
Right.
And it has worked for the most part, but on some occasions, there have been people that have balked at the price.
Yeah, I have an current example of that right now. But yeah, the issue with that is like, well, you don't want to say backup is optional, or
Yeah,
Microsoft Defender is optional, or security and or yeah, like anti-malware software, endpoint monitoring, things like that. So like, what would the plan? What would the options be that would bring it down a notch in
right.
terms of pricing? But it's a great point because I got one of these. Emails that starts to get your blood pressure up. It's a client I've talked about a few times recently where they're like, "Hey, so we saw the proposal for the project to do XYZ, and you have this amount. We'd like to pay this amount," and they just like throw out a number, and it's tricky because it's like, well, I mean, give me something. Like, what's the reasoning, and what like we took our time to propose this, and this, like, to your point about the plans, the plan is like what we recommend. It's not like, well, you can go with what we recommend or you can go with what we don't recommend. And either way, it's a great, it's like,
Yeah,
it's not either way. It's like we go with what we recommend. But if I had a plan, so the latest email is not about my, network project. We did that. That worked well, slightly under budget. So that's good. But this is about our monthly plan. So going into the new year, they want to renegotiate. They've already kind of asked me about these options, and I knocked the price down a little bit for some of the iOS devices, and I said, basically, you guys are paying like well below market rates, and you're paying like our rates from more than 2 years ago, like our plan
yeah,
structure, and so there isn't much room to bring it down from there. I can defer the increase, so like let's put off that conversation. I'll keep things where they are, but like realistically, you were facing an increase, if anything. And so they came back to me again. So we had that discussion and kind of tabled it. And then they came back to me again asking to negotiate on the plan, specifically the plan price. They acknowledge, like, you lowered the price for these devices, you took off the network monitoring because we have a much smaller network now, and like most people are remote and whatever. So those are the things I had to offer to them, little minor concessions, but they want to negotiate now the plan price. So I'm thinking, as you're saying this, Sam, if I had a price like for a, good plan, not the better or best level, then I could say, well, sure, we could offer you this other option. But I don't have that, and I'm not really sure what I would take out to be able to lower the price. So yeah, it's an interesting topic.
Because in your network stack, you do not offer backup, if I recall.
Yeah, they're right. They're paying for that. So I couldn't lower their price by
Okay.
saying,
Yeah.
like they're,
For
they're paying the same price I would charge them, basically, or I'd probably
for
charge them
my
a little more to include that.
Sure.
Yeah.
For my monthly rate, I include backup, and
Hmm.
clients who've either pushed back on price or saying like, well, we don't really need backup for the individual workstations, just back up our server or our
Yeah.
Synology NAS. I went like, okay, we can come up with a price. So that's what I did. I lower that number by removing a service.
Hmm.
But as Sam has said on previous shows, it's a slippery slope where,
Yeah.
these are not line items. We're giving you a package of all-inclusive uh, essentials that we feel like you need on these
Yeah.
individual computers or workstations. And once you start, it's like going to the auto dealer and, the auto mechanic saying, oh, you really got to replace the cabin filter. That's like, we do that every 12 or 24 months. And we're like, we don't need the
Yeah.
cabin filter.
Yeah.
How much would you charge me? So
Right.
at some point it becomes diminishing returns. Your credibility gets eroded by always
Yeah.
finding wiggle room sometimes.
Yeah.
Like,
They're just
well,
gonna ask for
true.
more wiggle room. That's
yeah,
a really good point. It's like,
exactly.
oh, well, all of this is negotiable. So
Yeah. And
right.
like, do we really need this stuff if you could just take it off? Like, why
Mhm.
did you
Right.
throw it in there in the first
Right.
place?
Yeah,
Like,
how
Right.
how sincere of a recommendation was this when, we ask the question and you just back off, quickly. It's like, yeah, that's,
Right.
doesn't sound like that important after all. Right.
right.
I love the expression, if you don't stand for it, you don't stand for it. So, it's like, this is it. This is
Yeah.
this is the program. You're either in the program or out of the program. That's why I never liked, dumbing down some sort of an offering to somebody and just giving them Watchman monitoring, which we don't use anymore. But, that always
Yeah.
seemed to me very shallow. And like you say, like we always said, time and time again, it's these little tiny clients sometimes that take up all our time. and
Yeah.
that's not scalable.
No.
So giving them something where they think like, oh, now we have some sort of relationship with Sam or Joe, and now we can call you, and like, oh, my computer, my PDFs are not rendering, please solve this for me. That's part of my plan, right?
Right.
So it gets complicated.
Yeah. What I did recently actually is we added some more bullet points to our, one-stop offering. And I did that kind of with the expressed thought process of, if I have to negotiate, I need more things to take off of those bullet points. But not everything is, I don't know. I was trying to add some things that are legitimate, but also could be considered removable. Just in this whole discussion, I think there are certain people you don't want to negotiate with because they'll see that as an opportunity and they'll attack, you know what I mean? But like there are some where, I don't know, there are some clients where I feel like there is a little bit of wiggle room or give and take that you could offer and still maintain the relationship. But anyway, like to the original point, I started to think about a couple of minor bullet points I could add to just to be there sort of almost as a little bit of fluff. They're reality, they're real stuff that we're offering, but just I could remove it without hurting something that I have to still pay for and now not offer to them. Like even simple stuff like we do something about access to company resources, which is basically access to Hoodoo that they can get, all the stuff that we document about them. Like I could kind of remove that and not hurt anything on my side. And
you're still documenting, you still have access, but maybe they
yeah,
don't need
and
access to
reduce
it.
that price a little bit. Just be like, okay, we'll take this off, like something silly like that, where I feel like those are some things that maybe if you wanted to have wiggle room, you could try and take off. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, as I keep rolling through this, is some of my thought process.
Okay, we won't defrag the hard drive every month. We'll take that off, and we won't rebuild the desktop for you like we normally would.
Well, you do it once every 2 months then, instead of every month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's tricky because you don't, on the one hand, you don't want to like dumb it down or water it down. You have your offering, you do it right, and that's what you're getting paid for. And that kind of has a cost, and therefore that has a price. On the other hand, like what happens, when there's an existing client that's trying to negotiate, to remain your client, you have a fish on the line, or maybe they're not even on the line. You have the fish in the frying pan or whatever, and you want to keep them, you want to have them for dinner. Sorry, this metaphor is going sideways, but you have the client. Like it's easier in theory to keep that client than to like market your services and make a new sale and whatever. So maybe you're willing to do a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I guess on the one hand, like I guess I could say, well, we can't take any services out, but we could offer you a like slightly reduced price for 6 months or 1 year, maybe.
Yeah.
Like just, and I don't know. I mean, cash flow is probably tough. So I was going to say like we could offer it with, like if you pay by, bank transfer instead of credit card, and you prepay for 6 months or a year, I mean, now I'd be even more willing to negotiate that number a little bit. Maybe again, with cash flow, they may not be game for that. Maybe I just say like, I could do this discount if you pay by bank transfer, maybe 5%. So I'm only giving up 2% because I'm still keeping the 3% that I would have, been paying to the credit card company, something like that. Give them 5%. I'll give you another 5% if you prepay for, I don't know, 6 months. And if they say, well, we could do 3 months, I'll probably, we've got a deal kind of thing, because
that's a good idea.
Yeah. It's like, don't water it down, but yeah.
Would that work for you, Sam?
For me, I think that's an option, but to Joe's point, I don't know how many people would cough up that money up front, depending on the size of the company. Yeah. I do like what he said, because I actually just negotiated with somebody, but I do like the offering of like saying, okay, we'll give it to you at this price for this year. And then what I did with the customers, we agreed to incrementally upgrade or raise the price for each year for the next 2 years to get it up to full pricing, and they agreed to that.
Okay.
So nice. I mean, it still shaves it off, but I don't know. I'm trying to do what I can, and I think again, certain customers you're willing to do this with, and others might be like, no, I'm not going to budge on this person's just going to keep trying to rob me blind, kind of thing.
Right. Right. It's an interesting one to say, but we're in the position where I would have wanted to raise their rates already. And so if I'm negotiating now, like, yes, I can give you a discount in the near term if you agree to like this number in the long term, that number would be like more than what they're paying now. So it kind of ends up just being like, well, it's the same price. It averages out to the same price you're paying now for the next 2 years. I mean, I'm still losing out in a certain sense, but they still think they're paying more later. I don't know. It's tricky. Yeah. It's like
Right.
we both might feel like we're not getting a good end of the bargain, but
I know.
So we don't normally talk numbers on the show, but I'm going to throw out a number because I'm at sort of a crossroads where I've been maintaining a certain rate for at least 18 months, maybe even 18 months with a lot of clients. Bare minimum 12, maybe some of them have been paying 18 months, and I'm approaching a dollar amount, which almost sounds unreasonable. Okay, so in my technology stack, as we'll call it, I've got Adigy, I've got Malwarebytes, we include Backblaze, and we are doing Electrona patch, and we're also using Adigy's solution for patching. By the way, some who listen to the show may identify problems, but I've actually been running patch and some of the Adigy auto update products, side by side within the same profile, and they seem like they get along harmoniously.
Okay.
That's interesting. No one like takes over the job and the other one fails or anything like that.
Yeah. There doesn't seem to be any red flags. Anyway, but don't take my advice.
Put a pin in that.
And
Let's
then,
go back to that. There is a race condition situation with that, and then there's the whole Microsoft auto update problem, which we haven't even talked about, but it's been going on for weeks. But okay,
with
so
you guys.
Go back to your story. So you've got your whole stack, and you make your offer.
So that's what it is, and I'm gonna throw out a number. And before I say it, I'm just gonna give the caveat to those of you who are listening in other parts where this sounds exorbitantly high.
Don't tell them where we are. We don't want to attract more competition. We've already got newcomers from California coming in.
We're in the Northeast.
Yeah.
We're very close to New York City, not as close as Sam and Joe, but we're sort of in the same ballpark. And our workstation rate per month with no contract, you could cancel at any time. Oh, and the other thing that's part of the stack is whatever.
This is such a good prolonged tease
I'm
here.
waiting for this number.
Yeah. Are you sure you don't want to? Oh wait, you don't want to tease this on put this on Patreon? You're going to give the number publicly.
I'm really generous. It's almost Christmas. It's almost Hanukkah. Right. I'm feeling like my heart is like the Grinch. It grew. How many sizes, Sam? You remember these things?
10 times? I don't know.
10.
Yeah. My heart is growing because I love you all. Now I lost my train.
Sorry, man.
Save it for Patreon then.
You can't do this. You can't do this to older people, Joe, because we lose it. No. So the other thing that they get is whatever our hourly rate is, they get 20% discount right off the top.
That's solid.
Other than special projects like mail it migration or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, so my number that they've been paying now for at least 12 to 18 months is $95 a workstation per month, with no obligation, nothing prepaid. But now here's the problem is that I'm at a point where I'd like to raise the rate because everybody's raising the rates. All my middleware software, Adigy, and I'm paying more. Backblaze, just my running costs have gone up over the past couple of years. So, but I can't see it. I can't say,
over 100. Yeah. 105,
exactly.
110. Yeah. It's like, oof. Yeah.
So, this
kind of goes. Yeah, this kind of goes back to what someone had brought up. I wish I could remember who about like adding in your. Well, this is for no contract, right? So I was gonna say like in your annual contract, a certain bump every year, like 2%, 4%, or something like that. That occurs that I still haven't done, mind you, but I've been thinking about doing to just automatically bump some of those costs.
Yeah, but that's a hell of a lot of bookkeeping. If you're a sole entrepreneur, you've got, one guy in the field and you're doing all the billing regardless, whether you have 2 or 3 people on your team, that could be a lot of number juggling.
Well, it's worth considering just because you're facing the, prospect of increasing it and
Mhm.
therefore maybe like rewriting it or just including a line in whatever they agree to where it's like, like Sam said, every year it goes up by whatever percent. I mean, what numbers do we use here? We could be facing, hyperinflation any day now. I don't know. I keep teasing that, like, I'm so tuned in to, the macroeconomics or like what's happening with the dollar and all this stuff. But, I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory to think, nations lose reserve currency status and like big changes happen in their economy that, and like power dynamics shift on the global scale. Anyway, like you
What's
could
he talking
have,
about, Sam? Could you
this is my
interpret
holiday
that for
message.
me?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a draft of my holiday message.
It's a happy new year.
He's practicing.
But like let's say inflation, like, okay, so fast forward a year from now, we're talking again. It's the holiday
Hyperinflation.
season. Yeah, it's the holiday season of 2026, and we're talking again, and it's like, whoa, I can't believe what we've just been through. The dollar is worth half of what it was, a year ago. Like that happens sometimes. Hopefully it doesn't happen in this country. And if it happens in this country, the United States, it'll happen, it'll have repercussions around the world. I mean, so it's just bad. It's probably bad for everybody, maybe good for some. I don't know. But that could happen. And if that happened and you have in your contract, a 3% measly, 3 or 5% increase even for cost of living, it's like, well, your cost of living just doubled basically, and you've got this 5% that everybody agreed to. So, not that it would trap you because you just renegotiate it, but I'm just saying, like, maybe it doesn't matter if you put it in there at this point. But Jerry, also, like, the thing is about the bookkeeping, this is my concern with these offers to individual clients, and you renegotiate and make little concessions and whatever. Now you're tracking all this stuff, and it's like, oh, what was our agreement there? Okay. For me, it's automated in my system where it's a recurring invoice that gets generated by the system. So I plug in all the numbers and it just generates an invoice each month, and charges them automatically in those cases as well. But in your case, if you're processing it manually through Square, you've got to keep track of that somewhere, to your point. And so it gets tricky when you're not raising everybody at once. And what's the timeline when I increase them? Or it's tricky.
Right. And dealing with that number, 5% increase puts it at 100, roughly speaking,
Yeah.
just, 50 cents under 100, right?
You got to go like 109. I don't know. I mean,
$9.99.
107, like figure out a number. Yeah. Like where people.
It just seems like, there's a psychological barrier to that. Oh, it's less than $100.
Yeah.
Right.
This guy keeps me safe. If I lose my data, I can get it back. I get a discounted rate if I need him at my house.
Yep.
The other interesting thing, and I'll just add this little tidbit, if you actually go back and listen to the Patreon show, and if you're not a Patreon subscriber, as Joe said at the top of the show, you can hear a little bit more of this, but Tim Pearson was sharing the point that he had 3 service-related companies, this is a reveal here, show up to his house to perform some services. In each one of them, in a disparate type of profession, was trying to sell them recurring fees, like a program, a plan. So, one was a window washer, one was a car washer. This is something, as we mentioned in greater detail, that people are used to now. It's just getting over some of these psychological barriers, because you go up and up and up. And again, people listening in other parts of the United States or the world who are not quite priced where we are, saying, I shouldn't be looking a gift horse in the house, like all status quo, maintain full speed ahead, keep everything just the way it is. Don't rock the boat. And that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. If anybody's thinking about this, thinking about what I'm going to do, I'm probably going to go steady on for at least another six months.
Current times also, not to get Joe too excited again. And
we don't want to trigger words for Joe.
Don't say AI safety, whatever you do. Don't mention
I
AI
won't do
safety.
that. I did have my friend over that. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I want to hear what he said. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Hey, we should have. By the way, we should have a safe word amongst the 3 of us and our listeners, so that if we have to pull Joe in, I just say the safe word to you, Sam, and you kind of need to do an intervention or dial him down.
That's funny. No, but I mean, like to the point that you're mentioning, and even Roy mentions it in the chat, is he tried to do a cost of living bump and got soundly rejected, and that's something that I think in current times might be applicable here. Is just the way people are feeling, the uneasiness, that not sure what's going to happen next. It might be a tough time to do those kinds of bumps. So I don't, I'm certainly not going to tell you when to do something about your business, but I'm thinking like for me, it might be bad. And
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there.
And if Joe raises his rates, his client might think, "Oh, Joe's raising his rates. The next thing is my tech guy is going to end up raising his rates."
Right. Yeah. I have to see what my tech guy thinks about this. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah. No, it's tricky. I mean, these conversations are always tricky with clients, and I'm talking myself into and out of like these negotiations. Like, I want to keep that client happy, but at the same time, I feel like I'm in good standing to be like, if you want a better rate, I'd encourage you to like check with colleagues in the Apple Consultants Network and get a few competing offers. Because I mean, you're telling me what your rates are, Jerry. I had that number in mind when they were talking to me about, can we lower the rate? What can we do? Now they're coming back again to try to lower it more for going forward. If either of you were to present to them and pitch them your plans, or any of our other colleagues, I imagine they're going to be paying, more, on the order of 20% more, or probably, I don't know. I mean, they use like very few hours per month. We've got it trimmed very carefully, where it's like they don't want to overspend. They don't want to like use too much time and have to pay for it. So they're prepaying for time to get a discount. They're using that time very carefully. They're very cost conscious, and I think if they shopped around, you guys may not even be interested, if with depending on how they go through your sales process. And if you pitch them, then they'd probably just come back to me and be like, "Well, keep paying the rates. Like, we're fine with that, after all." So I don't know. It's tricky.
Yeah. And there are different ways of doing this too. I mean, just to go back to the chat, Mike Kingsley was talking about the fact that he doesn't like to resell things. And that was always my I think all of our stances for a long time. I mean, I shifted gears. I'll be 100% honest. Like I did shift, and I made almost everything part of the stack, as opposed to like separate line items for what as a pass-through cost or something like that. I'm just like, we take care of it all for you. Here's one price. Some people like that. Some people don't. I don't know. I don't think there's a right answer there. I like it for me because it's just, I know what everything cost me, and I know what I bill, and I know the output of like, this is my true per seat, what we make out of that. So I don't know. I mean, I was so like that for years. I was like, oh, I don't want to do that ever. And now look at me. I've totally changed. So I don't know. It's hard to see the future sometimes.
Yeah, I've been in the same boat. I remember having these conversations with one or both of you in person with some of our colleagues about, how it's like lock-in from, in like a positive way from our perspective in theory, like you've locked them into, like being more sticky, as the saying goes. Like, in other words, it's hard for them to leave you because, you're the one holding the licenses and, organizing all of their tech through this one monthly plan. And so they're paying you, and it's like all included, and they kind of don't even know they're going to be able to pull that out, from you. And I've been resistant to doing it for that reason. I don't like the feeling of like, well, they're locked into me and they can't leave easily. And it's, it's opaque, there's no transparency. But then again, I have clients who it's hard to get them to sign up for something, even if they agree to it. Like, hey, you don't have backups here. Like, I need you to have backups. Like, that's kind of a, prerequisite here. Okay, well, just tell me what I need to do. All right, well, I'm gonna have to have you sign up for, Backblaze and put in your credit card info, and I'm busy. That then they can't get them on the phone and whatever. And so it's like there's things go on and on where it would be so much easier if I just included this. They're already paying me, like they already have their info. We're already charging them regularly. If it was just included with my plan, it would be actually way more convenient for the client. And this client, this one I'm thinking of now is not likely to be going anywhere. It's not about holding them more firmly. It's just about convenience for both sides. Maybe a little markup on our side for the, for managing it and passing through the cost or whatever, but mostly it's just for convenience.
But I do want to say that I don't feel like I want the client to feel like they're stuck with me. I do want them to feel like they could separate. So even though I do resell and bundle everything in, I always try and tell them, listen, if we don't work out,
Yeah.
there's, you can separate. It's not, just because we're managing this for you. So I think I have that in the back of my mind as well. I don't want to be sticky. I don't want to be like, oh, now it's a horrible pain in the butt. So
yeah, totally.
I don't know.
It's tricky though. I mean, there's pros and cons on both sides, and it may depend on the client and the consultant, obviously, in those cases,
Yes, sir.
So Joe, tell us about Microsoft Auto Update.
Oh yeah. Let's go back. Thank you. So I was on a client machine a month ago now, and I was doing some updates. Certain clients say they're retail or whatever the industry is, they want us to handle updates sometimes. So the Mac should auto update, and we have that set up in certain ways, and sometimes they don't or whatever. And so we just connect remotely, and we do some Mac OS updates and just check all the basics for these certain clients where it's a little bit more of a concierge thing like that. So I was physically looking at a computer remotely and doing these updates and things. And I notice in Electrona patch, my little patch menu in the top right, I see that there's, it's got the red dot on my icon. So I click it. I see that there's 2 updates available. And I'm pretty sure one of them was Microsoft Outlook or Microsoft Excel. I can't remember which of the 2 Microsoft apps. And another one was something else. And I don't exactly remember. It might have been 2 Microsoft apps there. So I did the update. I noticed that, it does a little thing and it should turn with the green check or whatever, green, and then go away. But it kind of lingered there and I wasn't sure if it had completed. And that was just my first clue. Turns out it had nothing to do with patch. Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
How did you update?
I just clicked on update all in the patch menu because it makes my job easier too. That should happen automatically when they quit the app, whatever. But if it doesn't, and I'm on it, I'll just update it using that method.
I would imagine in the menu, I don't use that particular menu style. It's the same as going to terminal and doing the patch update all.
Exactly. Same deal.
Okay.
Yep. So I could have done it remotely with I'm on the machine. I just click it. And so, I flagged that in my head, but I moved on and I forget, honestly, if I even checked opening, because one of the apps wasn't even something that they used and the other one, whatever. But so they both, but there was an initial delay or glitch or something happening with the patch menu. It didn't exactly proceed as quickly as I thought it should for those 2 updates in the moment. And I just flagged it in the back of my head and moved on because it looked like it did finish and all. Next day.
Now, one question. So I use patch as well. I don't know exactly how it works. It's just a magic thing for me. I'm simple caveman. But does it actually have to phone home to Jordy in the Netherlands? And
Jordy, I'm trying to think.
Isn't he
one of those patch people?
I think he's the developer, or the owner of the company. Oh no! What am I talking about? We're talking about patch. I'm sorry.
Patch. Rich. No.
Chad runs.
No, Chad, of course, but I'm thinking of the
Ryan Ball is the lead.
Ryan, thank you, not Rich. Ryan Ball's great. Okay. Yeah. So go ahead.
Does the little menu have to phone home, and then is there any kind of server side thing going on, or it's just all local to the machine? Because that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, so from what I understand about the architecture is you as you deploy the configuration profile and it lists, how you want patch to function, update all the apps all the time, how often do you want it to run, whether to interrupt the user or not, do not disturb, whether to, respect meetings, all okay.
But you're saying that it didn't go to the red dot didn't go away right away.
There was a delay. I mean, I don't. So my point is, I don't think it has to go back to Electrona for anything.
That's
at that point.
That's all I was asking. I didn't mean to derail your story.
Yeah, I think it's reading the internal settings, and then it sees Microsoft, Word is at version X, and our catalogs. So actually, it's got to go back to the catalog. I don't know how often it goes back, but it says, our catalog says it's at this, Okay, so that maybe that was part of it. So that was just a red flag in my head that there was a possible issue that I didn't even think twice about until the next day. A client reached out and said, I'm supposed to have Microsoft Excel, I think. It's what's going on here? So I connect in and I see that Microsoft Excel is a question mark in the doc. And so that was my first clue. So, and then that reminded me, oh yeah, there was a little glitch with the update. So I'm thinking, was this a patch thing? So then it happens on another machine, and it's like Microsoft Outlook, and they go to open Outlook, and it has the Microsoft Chrome icon. I could be misremembering this. Maybe it was Chrome, was Excel, but literally, like, what was supposed to be, it's named Microsoft Excel, has like a Chrome icon, right? Or vice versa. I
Hmm.
mean, it was really like weird stuff. So I posted to the patch channel on Slack, and then somebody directs me to, yeah, this is a known issue. It started happening with Microsoft. It's not patch, not a known issue with patch. It's a known issue with Microsoft Auto Update that happened like this year in April, 2025, and then like maybe got better, and like now some people are talking about it again, and I'm one of them, luckily. So what it looks like is happening is that like first of all, Microsoft Auto Update is having trouble identifying like which app is which in your applications. It doesn't identify
Hmm.
it based on the name, which makes sense because maybe the name could be renamed or whatever, but it uses the bundle identifier. Good. Okay, that sounds like
Mhm.
best practice. But for some reason, I don't know if it's getting the wrong result, or I don't really know. That's part of it, it seems. And the other part of it is that people are reporting all different apps that become other apps. Like
That's
somebody mentioned
wacky.
their VPN app. You know, it's like has nothing to do with Microsoft. It's like deployed through Jamf in that case, and it's like their VPN app, and it got renamed to Microsoft Excel or vice versa. Like
Hmm.
so the common thread is that some app, and it could be two different Microsoft apps get, you know, like masquerade as each other or get renamed as each other, but it could also be that a Microsoft app gets renamed as, or an existing app that's non-Microsoft gets renamed as a Microsoft app. So it's like there, you know, some weird thing that I call it a race condition or something. I don't know if that's the right term, but it's like if two processes are competing, you know, for like Microsoft is trying to do some updates, and in the past, updates have been a one by one thing. Like there's an installer process, and Apple controls that. There's like a, you know, there's a queue and there's a get in line kind of thing. And if you're literally running the installer app and you're looking at the installer like window, install, you know, I don't, Chrome doesn't install like this, but it's like install Google Chrome, you know, it will say waiting for other installations to complete. This has been for
Hmm.
decades now, probably.
Yeah.
And you know this, you remember this, you've seen this a million times, and it's like, okay, so there is a background process like this, you know, this vendor whose installer I'm using, they're using the package, you know, format, and it's opening the installer app. They have no awareness of other installations that are happening on my Mac. That's not their business. That's my assumption is that's the installer process or some other mechanism there. So to me, it seems like if two different installers can compete, you know, can interfere with each other. One of them being driven by Adigy, or sorry, yeah, Adigy maybe in some cases. One of them being driven by Electrona Patch. One of them being driven by Jamf, and the other common thread being Microsoft. I haven't heard of this problem happening with two non-Microsoft apps interfering. Have you, Sam?
No, I was trying to raise my hand like Jerry.
So yeah, what do you got?
No, I had a question though. In that situation, are you disabling the Microsoft Auto Update
Well,
feature?
now I am. Yeah,
Okay.
because
Okay,
so
that was my
yeah.
question.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
this happened in version 4.8.0 like a month ago, and this was like reintroducing this problem from version whatever it was back in April when this first people first started reporting this. And I put in I started a thing with Microsoft, whatever, a ticket. Their support says this
Good
is an
luck with
Apple
that.
issue. Yeah, no,
Mm.
like literally they're like, well, you have to talk to Apple. And I was like, well, but your installer is malfunctioning. I think, you know, maybe you can't fix it, but like you want to know about that, or your engineers want to know about that. So don't close my ticket. Well, sir, we don't have Apple, you know, we can't help you with Mac related issues, Mac OS issues in your Apple, whatever. Like they're explaining to me like, you know, they're trying to make me go away basically, but eventually they just acknowledge this is a known issue that's maybe a, you know, bug that has recurred, and the engineers know about it, and we're going to close your ticket as unresolved. So it's like, okay,
Oh my God.
as long as somebody's like knows that there's still an issue, you know. Yeah. But so
Wow.
it's like, did something change in Apple? So did Apple like screw up? I mean, Microsoft wants to claim that they did, where maybe the installer process that says one in, one out in the queue is now saying like we could probably do a few installations at once. That's fine. Like we could run that in parallel. We've got Apple Silicon with, 4 efficiency cores or something like, run as many installs as you want. I don't know if they started to change that and Microsoft like was like that triggered a bug in Microsoft. I don't know, but
Mhm.
it's a big problem. And so what they told me, try update to 4.8.1. They were telling everybody in the auto update. So I did that, and I got another report of it, and I said, this is I don't want to deal with this. So I ran a command that sets the auto update process to check manually only. So on all my machines, I just pushed that out by Adigy, and I haven't seen any more instances of it since doing that. So it clearly seems like it is an auto update thing. And
Yeah.
since I'm using patch, I guess I don't need auto update technically. So
Yeah, I think in general, auto update could create that situation. I mean, I didn't know of this issue, Joe, so I'm not speaking of with experience there, but like what I've done is it's similar to your command. I put a configuration profile that turns
right.
auto update off as well and just
Mhm.
locks it in. And this way it doesn't try and interfere with patch or any other third party product in trying to update. But I
Yeah.
had not heard of I mean, that sounds crazy, but I had not heard
Yeah,
of
it
that.
does. Yeah.
Um, just like an app turning into another app is insane
Totally.
to me.
No, you immediately think, well, so I thought of a couple things. I thought user error,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Like somebody deleted their thing and it's a question mark now, whatever. And then I'm like, Google Chrome, it's Microsoft Excel, but it's the Google Chrome icon and it says made by Google. I'm like, I don't know how my user did this. That's weird. So then
Yeah.
I think, okay, Microsoft, people are saying, oh, they're doing vibe coding over there, where they're using AI to like code the auto update. I hope they're not doing that. I
Don't
don't
say
think they
AI.
are.
That's a
Yeah,
trigger
I know.
phrase.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, but the issue, like I think of like supply chain attack, because if somebody could get into Microsoft Auto Update and like put in a backdoor that could be triggered by I don't know what, that could install, malicious software, maybe it's malfunctioning and it's starting to like, spew garbage on your system or rename your apps. Like to me, it's like an example because you should never have like a like very like Microsoft is, a third party, sure, but they're like one of the most important third parties on any platform. It's like
Yeah.
Google, it's or Apple. Like those are the the huge companies that have similar kind of stacks of hardware, software, and apps ecosystems. You wouldn't expect Microsoft to have a data loss bug like this, in
Right.
their auto update function of all things that's deployed to like millions of endpoints. Like it just doesn't happen, and it happened once already apparently, and I didn't see it, and now it's happening again. So I don't know. I'm like thinking, yeah, supply chain attack or just it's got to be like just a bad, you know, bad. I don't know, like again, interaction with Apple's something that Apple changed and Microsoft maybe, or they just screwed up. I don't know.
Yeah. And they're blaming Apple.
Yeah.
Who
So
knows?
still to be determined, but yeah, turn it off, I guess, if you're already patching some other way. It just seemed like this was never an issue because again, there was a queue of like installer, it's like one install at a time, please,
Yeah.
Yeah, before you go out for your walk today, Joe, once we're done with this show, can you send me that little recipe so I can run it in Adigy,
It's in
please?
my thread somewhere. I posted it. If you look at with all the chatter about this, I can
In
find it for you. But
what
yeah,
channel though?
on Slack in I think the Microsoft Auto Update channel where everybody's
No,
talking
I
about
probably unsubscribed to that long ago.
okay, well it's in like it's still happening in 481. I'll try to find it for you.
That's all right. I
It's
could join
a
the
def
fun.
Jerry
no
get it
it's
himself. He's a big boy.
so
I'm a big boy.
it's a default write command that just basically sets the preference that when auto update like checks its preferences, it says, okay, I'm set to run manually, so I'm going to do nothing right now. Is my understanding of it. But Sam, I think you're doing the same thing with the configuration profile that just sets the same key, probably.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just the profile doesn't allow the user to change it back. So that's kind of
Got
why
it.
I do it that way.
I see.
Yeah, but yours is a stinking Jamf thing, and that's not going to help me, right?
No, it's a profile.
It'll
Oh,
still
send that
work.
to
Yeah.
me.
It's
Send that
MDM
to me.
profile.
I want that.
Yeah.
Well,
I
maybe
just
that's nice.
yeah, I didn't want to send the profile. I figured a preference is easy for me to understand
Right.
and send, and just it's like a band-aid for now, really. But
Well, we're
Yeah,
coming towards the top of the hour, by the way. And
Yeah.
before we wind up, I know we have a little bit more to discuss, but I do have a story to share that is right on the heels of what you shared, Joe, of another Apple or product masquerading as something else. And
Okay,
we'll
let's
end the
hear
show
that.
with that. So
What
I'm
do we
just
Okay,
going
have?
we'll
to
end the
tease it
show
up.
with that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got a couple of tips here I wanted to get to, but maybe this will have to be a future show. I've got a whole topic on how we use that Omega character that I mentioned to you guys, where it sorts at the end of the list. So we'll tease that. I think we talked about that in Patreon maybe, and there was a pop quiz there. But okay, so the real tips though are that so when you're 1Password asks for your master password on your Mac every 14 days by default. I haven't shared this tip with you guys yet, have I?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
You got to check them off when you use them, James.
I know. I meant to maintain my notes here, but so I have two 1Password tips actually. So the thing is, on my phone, when I'm out at a coffee shop or walking around or whatever, and maybe I'm paranoid. There's cameras, right? Like looking at the register
Here we
where
go.
you're
Another
scanning
trigger
and checking
word.
out.
Yeah.
So sometimes you go
Stop and
to
pray.
like you go to sign into something and okay, the password's in 1Password, so you want to just like let it autofill. Cool. So far so good. But 1Password jumps up on your phone and says enter your master password because it's been 14 days. It's required every 14 days. I don't want to sit there and type that password. That's a pretty important password to for the cameras to observe or whatever, somebody's shoulder surfing later or presently. So I don't want to type that on my phone. So now I'm like, okay, dismiss that prompt. I'll figure out another way to get in or something. It's just an annoying struggle. Like I just want it to work and I want it to just use Face ID in the phone. Well, it can do that. So the thing I didn't know is that that's a preference you can set. How often should it ask you? And the point of that setting is just that it's a reminder to you, so you don't forget what your master password is because you're using biometrics all the time. So my kind of balance for this is I always have a Mac and a phone at the very least. So the phone I set to don't ask ever for the master password. Just rely on Face ID on the phone or Touch ID, right? On the Mac, sure, ask me because typically I'm going to I'm probably not with other people like in person or whatever. I'm not worried about the cameras there on the Mac as much. Or on the Mac, I can also technically I can like Touch ID to unlock my passwords app and tell me if this is bad design, but I might have my 1Password master password in there where I can just like copy and paste it without revealing the password. So that's probably bad because it's like a single point of failure, or it's not a single point of failure, but
No.
it's just that's the keys to the kingdom. If somebody gets into that one, it's not separated, but
I mean, what
do
can
you
you
think,
do
Sam?
otherwise? There are certain,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to make certain concessions as long as you're technically aware of what's happening. I think, like, for instance, I do the same thing on my phone. I set it to never as well because,
Okay.
I mean, it
Nice.
is using biometrics anyway, like
Yeah.
secondary, not just unlocking your device, but also unlocking the app uses
Right.
biometrics, right? So,
Right.
I mean, and on a mobile device, my master password is a little complex. So, like, I don't want to be doing that and like messing it up and then.
Same.
Or if I like walking the streets of the city and trying to do something fast, it would just make me
Yeah.
frustrated. So,
Exactly.
but
That was the idea. Yeah.
I don't know if maybe the Mac, like you said, I like the 14 days or whatever the time frame is because I think it's more possible on the Mac.
Yeah.
Not that we would, but it's more possible that you could unlock it and turn away or something, and then everything's a little bit more easily accessible to somebody. Where on the phone, it's
Right.
not really as likely, I would say.
Now, so that's a good question because I think your assumption is that if you don't enter the password, then like, is it another level of locking basically that it's requiring the password after 14 days, that it's refusing biometrics? There's no cancel on that prompt because I thought like, okay, if they're asking you, there's a reference to this where somebody from 1Password says the requirement to enter your account password is primarily meant to be a memory tool to help you remember your account password by requiring that you occasionally retrieve it from memory, your brain, and type it in. You can set the requirement to a longer time or turn it off entirely if you're using the biometric unlock. And what they're trying to say is that that's not necessarily like a built-in feature to like do an extra kind of lock above and beyond biometrics. It's meant to be a memory reminder feature for you. And then they go on to say 1Password is still protected with two factors. In this case, your phone, something you have, and your biometrics, something you are. So I guess. I mean, but it's still, there's a philosophical component to this where it's like, if you're not worried about the memory problem of this, like she just turn it off everywhere because technically it works. And as long as you can biometrically unlock one of your devices, you
Yeah.
can then use that to reset your 2FA. So it's like it still seems like you can get in if you have an unlocked device with your 1Password account.
I mean, also I have my emergency kit on a piece of paper in a safe somewhere.
There you go.
So,
That
you know,
too.
it's like, but I don't know that everyone would do that. They see that emergency kit, they're like, I don't know, I'll just delete that email, or whatever.
They can
I'm not
help you.
sure. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure how many individuals, because I know from a business you can manage it, but I'm not sure how many individuals actually pay attention to that emergency kit.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's probably good to. So the other thing with 1Password, as we wind down, for leaving a little bit of time for Jerry's story, have you guys seen this double prompt for passkey stuff? Like, I find this so annoying with when you're enrolling in passkeys. So, you know, you go to, I mean, first of all, here's one example. You go to any Apple website. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you're trying to log into somebody's custom store or, you know, Apple Business Manager or whatever number of sites. The first thing is always like, I'm certain you want to log in using your primary iCloud account, right? And I'm like, cancel, use different Apple ID.
Yeah.
And then I put in the other Apple ID, and then it's like, I'm going to log you into that original iCloud one that I already suggested anyway, right? Because you probably entered the wrong thing. I'm just going to go back and I'm like, nope, still no, nope. Give me the password field, you know. Okay, fine. So you jump through the Apple hoops. That's Apple in particular, but other companies like Amazon, this is where I've seen this. I'll log into Amazon, and then Amazon will just show me a screen. Nothing happens. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Have you seen this, Jerry?
No.
Okay.
I haven't seen that.
It's like I successfully, you know, authenticated because I put in my username and password, or it auto-filled, obviously, and goes to a white screen. Well, 1Password, I've gotten to just ignoring that thing, but there's a little prompt in the corner, you know, that's like the little symbol for like 1Password, passkey, something or other. So the trick that I finally figured out was that when it goes to this empty white window, 1Password prompts to unlock itself to save it, to then offer you to save a passkey, or really to enroll a passkey. If I close that 1Password prompt, I'm just stuck on a white screen at Amazon.com. So it never advances. It doesn't really know what happened. And this is something to do, a side effect of 1Password, I guess. The correct solution is to click the little hardware token icon in the 1Password prompt. I never knew this. I just tried it one day. So you click this little, it's like a little, looks like a YubiKey thing or something. It's like a little hardware token icon in the 1Password popover window in the corner. That will bring.
But isn't that a standard Apple popover for the thing that looks like a YubiKey?
No, it's before that. So it's like it's the 1Password version of that, because 1Password I have you know configured as an extension. So you click that little icon, that brings up the iCloud keychain built-in, the thing I think you're describing, the built-in passkey prompt to like enroll a passkey. Or you can cancel that prompt and Amazon realizes you canceled, and then it actually does advance. But the only way to have it flow like that is to click the little 1Password hardware token icon, which tells 1Password that you actually would prefer to use some other method of using a passkey, like the hardware token or the, you know, in this case, built-in iCloud thing. So it's just a tricky series of like hurdles, and this is where clients get stuck. But there you go.
I mean, it's so confusing. Yeah. I mean, we can do all this stuff and navigate it and like, screw it, I'll do this, I'll do that, and we're in. But just the average person trying to, you know, like we tell them, oh, you got to use 1Password because you'd be safe. Well, Apple's offering for me to do passkeys. Well, that's good too. You could do that too.
Right.
Sure.
You could do that. Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
Why not?
And then they get this S show of different cascading prompts. And I love the way you described the very first problem of Apple suggesting the wrong identity for
multiple times.
And inevitably it'll I'll do that. I'll find that it'll be very frustrating for me to get into an Apple Business Manager.
Yeah, exactly.
Situation where I'll try to log in with one client ID and they're giving me a completely different client. And it's just like so annoying.
Right. And not to mention, you got to retrust the browser like every time. Like, trust this browser? Yes. And the next time you log in, it asks you again to trust the browser.
You just like imagine them laughing, like, trust the browser. He wants us to, he thinks we're going to trust him, you know, or whatever. It's like, thinks we're going to trust his browser. That never works. You know, there's like Apple's laughing at you behind the scenes. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it doesn't work for me. Does it work for because it's multiple accounts. Like it can't remember multiple accounts. So it's just going to wipe out the previous trust. And then, it's so tricky. But yeah, my solution to the one before I figured out that you can click that thing is that it would just be stuck on a white screen, and I would refresh, and then it'd give me the sign in, and then it would go. So like you said, it's like, clients, you just tell them like, well, if that doesn't work, try this other thing. If that doesn't work, try, that should not be how this stuff works.
No,
Like,
no, 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 no.
There shouldn't be
right.
dead ends, that they have to try something else. It's just like, it's not done yet, guys.
We're-
Like, don't release that. Like,
Right. We're not ready for prime time yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
These
Right.
competing technologies. Yeah.
Yep.
Really sad. Well, Joe, you were talking. Well, actually, before we do do this little brief thing that I have to share, didn't we have 2 listeners call in and share something?
Good reminder.
One was from Chris Hart, and the other was from a gentleman who was talking about how Backblaze, really important here. Go ahead, take the ball.
Yeah, so both on the topic of backups. So Jerry described his MailChimp debacle where, for years he's been accumulating a database of his clients and sending newsletters on a very regular basis. And all of a sudden, all the names were gone and all the emails were gone and the whole database of contacts was gone. And there's no way that MailChimp could help you recover your data. And so Chris Hart wrote in with a suggestion for this Skyvia. Skyvia. So it's skyvia.com, and they have a backup for MailChimp. They have a way of backing up MailChimp. So Chris recommends that you can just use a free account and you just set a reminder for yourself, and you go in and you click a button and it backs up your MailChimp database of your audience, as they call it. Or you can pay Skyvia for the automated backup of MailChimp. So there are options out there.
Sounds like a pharmaceutical drug that they advertise.
I know, right? Yeah.
Or, they had one name to come up with, and let's do something where someone could accidentally call us Skivia.
Skivia, yeah, or Skivy, right? Skivy, right? Yeah.
But do they have Cloud Miros backup? That's the big question.
That's right. That was taken, so they had to go as Skivia. Yeah. So that's a good tip from Chris, though, for people in the same situation as Jerry there. The other one was a listener who pointed out the fact, this is Colin MacArthur, who pointed out that
long time, first time.
Yeah, long time, first time. I'm a regular listener of your Command Control Power podcast and heard your advice on backing up iCloud-based files. I also signed up for Backblaze because you all recommended it so heartily.
You recommended it, Joe. The email went to you, so he's kind of blaming you.
Yes, fair. Yeah. So I thought you would want to know that Backblaze has quietly changed their policy on backing up iCloud files. They don't permit it anymore. So this is the exchange with their support team. Thanks for providing that. Unfortunately, the article you followed in your measure is now defunct. We're working on taking it down as we speak. So they're responding to Colin's email about the fact that there's an article on Backblaze's website, which still loads as far as I can see here, because they're apparently still working on taking it down, that you can turn off the optimize max storage option. As you all know, then therefore the files will be downloaded to your Mac, and then they'll be backed up to iCloud. And I followed this recently in regards to Google Drive for a client. She was sending me these screenshots of error messages about files couldn't be backed up. It was from Backblaze, and they were referencing something in a Google Drive location. And I said, oh, okay, let me research this. So Backblaze similarly has an article about Google Drive. To back up Google Drive, you just need to make sure that it's set to, I forget what they call it, but keep downloaded basically. And then sure, it'll back up that stuff too, no problem. Well, apparently that's not the case. So their Backblaze support is saying, yeah, pay no attention to the article that says we will back up iCloud Drive. We actually don't do that. And they say, since Backblaze version 922.878 was released, probably on last Thursday, directories such as, sorry, that was a burn for Jerry's benefit. Directories such as mobile documents have been internally excluded. So this is like not a, exclusion that you have control over, right? And then they say you can read about it here, and they link to an article. So in this case, if you'd like for the files to be backed up by Backblaze, they'll need to be moved to a different directory. Well, that's a big policy change because I used to
Yeah.
think of Backblaze as like an addition to iCloud Drive. Clients for years now, we joke, have been saying it's all in the cloud, and Sam says they point up. I'm trying to point up. They point up. It's in the cloud, and it's like, yeah, it's an iCloud Drive. That's true, and that's a syncing service. We don't consider that a backup service, but there is a form of backup in there. But for extra peace of mind, Backblaze takes all that stuff that's downloaded to your Mac and it backs it up to Backblaze for extra peace of mind in case something happens to iCloud, or in case you don't notice that you deleted a file from your iCloud drive. You don't notice quickly enough. You have, I think, 30 or 40 days to use the built-in recovery tools on iCloud.com to restore deleted files, or in certain cases, certain forms of data. I don't know, Mr. Apple, do you have the, sorry to keep calling you that. That's a Jerry thing, but
No, that is
The
the
Jerry
that is
thing.
the time frame, isn't it? 30 days to.
I think so.
He proudly wears that moniker, Joe.
It's true. He's got an Apple shirt on right now. I think at least I
Yeah,
could
look
call
at
him
him.
as
He's a
Mr. Apple.
fanboy.
Yeah. He's
I'm a
covering it up.
fanboy.
Yeah, it's very cool. Old school. Oh, you got that in Cupertino when we were there, right?
He's
The-
probably
Yeah.
off to a seminar
logo.
tomorrow, participating in some sort of a fancy
That's
pants
true.
Fancy
That's true.
thing for 3 days.
But so yeah, I mean, I think we're all on the same page. It's like 30 days. There's some other types of data besides files, like contacts maybe, or something like that. There's certain things you can like roll back.
Yeah.
It's somewhat limited, and again, it's time limited for sure. So again, Backblaze with their generous 1-year version history, or you can extend to forever with B2 if you just pay per byte or whatever. Like you have options to have a backup. Save your changed files or deleted files for a very long time with Backblaze, and iCloud Drive on its own doesn't do the same thing. So the only way to achieve that is use a different backup utility than Backblaze, or use something like a local time machine drive that you put in a fire safe. I mean, this is now going back, this is like a, old school compared to what we had with Backblaze. So frustrating to learn about that, but thanks to
Yeah.
Colin MacArthur for the feedback about that. That's very interesting.
Very
Right.
important PSA for sure.
Yeah.
So more and more services are being taken away from Backblaze. They don't have the
Yeah.
affiliate program anymore for
Yeah.
we consultants, and now they don't back up iCloud stuff. It's like, great. And so Google Drive, I know you've already ended the segment, Joe, but Google Drive is no longer backed up either, even if you
I
say
guess not.
download
Is that
them.
right?
Yeah, very nice. Well, that's convenient. If you're a backup company and you say like, well, we put out this help document that says basically we're not backing up anything that you really want backed up.
Right.
Maybe a few
Right.
things we back up, but not
Well,
everything.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about this more another time, I guess. But I'm just curious why, because you're still limited to the space on the drive. It's not like you're backing up endless amounts of cloud data. You're backing up what the user can keep on the drive. So why
true.
is my question?
Why?
I think they
Right.
ran into problems with versioning.
Yeah, maybe.
Some sort of
Hmm.
coding mumbo jumbo that
Mumbo
that Apple does, that somehow was not simpatico with their backup system.
Well, I could see a problem if a file is set to is downloaded and backed up, and then, Apple's, built-in system, purges that file while keeping the placeholder, and Backblaze, says, well, what do I do? Like, it's still there, but I can't tell if it's the same file. I don't know if I have this file backed up because maybe it was updated and then purged. And now my backup copy, I can't checksum it because it's, this is just a placeholder. I don't know. I mean, they could require the turning off optimized max storage, as they already recommend, that they could just require that, or check, maybe are they allowed to check that setting and then flag it, and say like, yes, it's being backed up, or no, it's not, depending on that setting. Or it seems like from a technical perspective, my first assumption was that the reason they're doing it is in order to just reduce the overall burden of storing all this data. They're like, well, it's in the cloud anyway, and now we've taken on venture capital. We need to show like more profit.
There it is right there.
Thanks for letting me draft the holiday message live here and talking about,
It's about 2 hours long at this point.
Yeah, I know. All right, so let's move on. Jerry, you have a
Before
to wrap us up?
as we say goodnight, we were talking about apps masquerading as other apps. So I had the perfect thing to kind of capsulize this. This is from a Nana client, and she said, "I'm wondering if you can make the change to my taskbar She's talking about the dock. The third icon from the left, it says Safari, but when you mouse over it, she says it says Safari. Well, we should. I'm going to start from the top. We're going to edit this.
Yeah.
So the perfect way to round out the show. So we're talking about apps masquerading as other apps.
Yeah.
So this comes from a Nana client, and she says, "Jerry, I'm wondering if you could make the change in my taskbar." She's talking about the dock. She says the third icon from the left, it says Safari when you mouse over it, but Safari doesn't show up. Google does. I would like to get rid of Google and have Safari working there.
I can't tell you the amount of times I've heard that
I
one.
know.
Right.
I know.
All right. So you guys, do you want to explain away what's happening there? Because
Yeah, she gets to the Google homepage when she clicks on Safari.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So she wants to use. This is a big senior thing. I want to use DuckDuckGo. I mean, it must have been featured in the ARP magazine.
Yeah,
for
that's
months
my
and
first
months.
guess too. Yeah.
Or
I do get that magazine, so I'll check.
Nice. Yeah, please. Yeah, let us know.
Or Kim Commando recommended it. You need to use DuckDuckGo because they're not going to. I want to use DuckDuckGo. Right.
Right.
So I want to use the DuckDuckGo search engine. I'm like, well, okay, you could use Safari and use the DuckDuckGo search engine, and that really confuses them.
Yeah.
So she's got DuckDuckGo. She's got Safari, and right next to that, it was Google. So I dragged Google out of the dock. I opened up Safari. I made Apple the homepage for opening up Safari.
Nice.
Or anytime she opens up a tab, and Bob's your uncle.
Nice.
Man.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, you're an interpreter. That's like a large part of what we do is like understanding. What they said kind of makes no sense sometimes, and what they mean is what you just described. Yeah.
Understanding Nana speak, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
My Safari's Google now.
Right.
How do I fix that?
It's a paradox. Unplug it. It's like, yeah. It could not be more confusing. You've got Google, the company, which is now Alphabet, right? But Google's still the product, which is the search engine, and Google Chrome is the browser. And Google Chrome, you can load Google. They may also make docs, Google everything, and then like you can have a Google Chrome. You could have Google Chrome running on your Chromebook from Google. I mean, I get it. It is confusing, but part of it is just that they've never built the framework, of like what a web browser is, the concept of that. It's the same as like what a mail client is. They'll insist like, no, I don't want to use iCloud Mail, and I'm like, no, we're like, I can just add your work account to this mail app. It's like they never understood that was like a generic app that can be used for all manner of email checking. Same thing with a web browser. Like, it's not a browser. It's not a app that loads Google. It's like it's a web browser for everything. Or it's just they don't have the concept. I understand that, but it's tricky.
Right. And the other interesting point is like everybody in the industry, we call these web browsers. How many times have you said to a client, well, what web browser do you use? It's like you're asking them, the solution to the Pythagorean theorem or something like that. Like browser?
Yeah.
What do you?
Yeah.
Web
Sometimes
browser?
I say I use AOL. Like, no, that's just
Hey, DuckDuckGo.
Yeah. Or they're embarrassed about AOL because like they'll say like, I'm sorry, I have an AOL address. I know that's bad. I'm like, no, it's not really. It's actually not bad. I don't. Right. It's like their email service works fine. And it's like a fast IMAP email service. I don't have a problem with that. But they're like embarrassed to come. You're a tech guy. Like you're going to shame them over whatever. It's just funny. Yeah. I don't know. Oh man,
guys.
Good stuff. Yep. All right.
Shall we call it a night for this
we should
one?
call it. Yeah, this is a longer show. I was almost going to say, Jerry, you could split this in two somehow, but
no, we can't do
trouble.
That. By the time I take all the ums and the ahs and the likes out, we're down to about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
good.
How dare you?
Yeah.
I'm
going to put in extra likes just for that.
Makes the show thinner and lighter. No, we did a good kickoff to the month of December. This is nice. They get extra content.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, no bird, but bonus, no bird.
Bird's gone.
Yep. You get all that
he's not
room
gone,
to fly
right?
around.
Just to be clear, the bird's not gone. He's okay.
Just to be clear.
Bird's still with us.
Right. That looks like it could be a very nice apiary. Is that what you call it? Apiary? No, that's for bees. Aviary.
No, that's for
Oh,
apes.
no,
Apes are in apiary.
the bird sanctuaries, those things.
Yeah, the bird sanctuary, the aviary. Aviary, right?
Apiary?
Oh man, I gotta go, but it
All
looks
right.
like it could be.
Yeah,
Nice
you
big
got to
bird
go for a
cage.
walk.
Yeah.
Take your dog and
I do.
take your dog for
Yeah.
a walk.
I'm gonna pretend I have a dog. All right, good talking to you guys. And oh, I guess I should do an outro. Thanks everybody for listening to another episode of Command Control Power. Check us out at commandcontrolpower.com. Pledge your support, and we'll see you next week.